Thank you for your support. Thank you for the views. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for all that good stuff on my last podcast episode. I was scared. I was trying to be vulnerable. I was putting a story out. And by the way, I got a lot of support by a lot of women saying that they were so sorry I had to go through what I had to go through. However, there's no need to feel sorry. There's a plot twist. If you listen to the episode later on the end, you'll see the plot twist. But the purpose of me telling that story was not to expose anybody. The purpose of me telling that story was not to get a pity party started for me. It was simply because it's something that happened to me that I would have never thought could have happened. And I'm pretty sure that now, being that we live in the day and age we live in, it does happen and somebody's going through that. And I want to give them some example of how you can process it, how you can deal with it, and that when it comes to individuals that are ignorant in a manner of sexuality or gender identity, sometimes you have to look at it from another perspective. Sometimes you gotta give a pass. And sometimes you got to use them as an example and teach them a lesson, and then also to share the word and spread the word. Sometimes people do harmless acts with good intent, but don't understand that it does the complete opposite. And I think this is a prime example, or that situation was a prime example of that transpiring. But I think the cherry on the top would be that it was coming from my family and an elder, which I do feel like elders have let us down and failed us, but that's a whole nother episode. But today's episode, I do want to talk about the elephant in the room, and that is, why don't people like unique? People do not like uniqueness, and it irks the hell out of me. And I don't know where this transpired, where this came from, but it's something that is becoming more and more prevalent. Also, this kind of was inspired by a Jackie Ina post. This was a post that she made in regards to individuality being dead, and how almost everybody is kind of doing the same thing and into the same trends and into the same movements. And it's almost not fun because we get the stigma that all black people look the same, all males look the same, everybody's doing this, everybody's doing this. But in all actual honesty, that's all that's being promoted. And some people can't think for themselves, and it's just easier to fall in place. Besides, if everybody was different, there would be no different. So on today's episode, I want to highlight a couple of factors when it comes to the individuality acceptance on social media. One, I want to talk about the dangers behind it. The dangers behind social media and not being accepting to individuality or authenticity, and it leading to conformity as well as a lack of diversity. But I also want to flip on a lighter side, and I want to look at the potential that social media has to promote individuality acceptance with roles such as influencers, communities, authenticity, and being vulnerable, which is something that is looked over and a lot of people have mixed up in their head just based upon incorrect information on the internet, incorrect information on social media, and then also just no guidance out here, because social media has cultivated so fast that I feel like a lot of people, parentals, elders, don't even know how to reach to a younger crowd or reach to their younger generations to kind of help guide them and get them to steer in their own lane and quit trying to get on the highway to commonality, period. Let's go ahead and bite the bullet and get into it. Let's talk about the negative impacts of social media when it comes to individuality. Now, this is including the pressure to conform to certain standards when it comes to three areas that I like to think about. That's beauty, that's success, and that's behavioral. If we think about beauty, people don't even know their own beauty. They don't even know what they find beautiful, and they don't even know how to react to something that's different but beautiful. If you think about it, there's a hair trend, everybody wants to do the hair trend. There's a hair color that everybody's wearing, everybody want to go get the hair color. There's a new procedure to enhance your body, everybody want to go get that procedure. Forgetting that social media is nothing but props, editing, exaggeration, and creativity. Some of the things that people go for when it comes to beauty isn't even realistic, but social media has that pressure on you where you feel like you're not popping unless you got a big fat juicy ass. You're not popping unless you got a whole face full of fillers. You're not popping if you have a bald head. When it comes to success, unfortunately, social media exaggerates everything from beauty, to success to the behavior. It's an exaggeration. So success for a lot of people, they go based off social media and completely forget the simple fact that your success is going to look a lot different than anybody else's success. My version of success is not going to be like your version of success. So why should I be on the internet going after somebody else's? I don't get it. And then behavior. It has fucked us up so bad that we feel like when you do get to a certain point, there's certain behaviors that you have to do. You have to be a part of. Takeoff. God rest his man's soul, but I don't know who it was who just had an interview and was like, why are you rolling dice with people that's not even your tax bracket? Behavioral. There's no need to attach a certain behavior with anybody else. What's the point of living? That I don't get. I do feel like a huge factor of behavior when it comes to social media is just the judgment. People being biased, people judging, and that's it. But even those behaviors, good and bad on social media, are exaggerated. Either the trip wasn't as exotic as they made it seem, or the prank was well planned out, or those sporadic moments that just happen that tend to be caught on camera was staged, or better yet, they're lies. People fall for those small things and it gets in the way of individuality, thus making individuality not relevant. Not dead, but just not relevant. Now, here's the problem. You can't blame society for these things. You can't even get mad that younger kids are being influenced and driven based on these behaviors and things that they're seeing on social media. Why? Because just like I was able to tell you about Jackie Aina and her success as an influencer on the internet, and just like we can look at Kim Kardashian and think about all the money that she has made being on social media and all the good things that these people have done with their platforms, it puts pressure. Everybody thinks they have what it takes to do it. Everybody wants the opportunity to make that impact and that thumbprint on life. So what do? Well, I know that if I want to reach the amount of people that Jackie Aina is reaching, or if I want to reach the amount of people that Kim Kardashian is reaching, or if I want to reach the amount of people that some of these very creative, super creative individuals are doing online, I gotta break the algorithm code. So if everyone's doing a cuff it challenge, I gotta do my version of the cuff it challenge to get the algorithm to play, and so people can actually see what I have to offer. The algorithm has a lot to do with a lot of the negative impacts, and I think that as people or consumers on social media, there needs to be pressure put on the algorithm. There's no reason why everybody is trying to figure out the algorithm the way they are, because the way it is, because if you really think about it, it worked for them, so why wouldn't it work for me? They're doing everything everybody else is doing, and it got them pushed out to as many people as it's gotten them pushed out. And I'm trying to be different, and I'm trying to spread a different word, and I'm trying to bring awareness to something completely different than everybody else. The algorithm ain't gonna support that. The algorithm ain't gonna push that out. It's not gonna promote that. And a lot of times, I know for me, when I'm on social media, I'm so tuned into social media, and I've been on it for some time, I don't even want to see nothing outside of what's trending. I want to see all variations, but I'm missing out on the meat and potatoes of what that person has to serve to me. I'm looking at them mesmerized by their looks, and lo and behold, they got a whole message. They're on a whole movement that they're in charge of that is completely being looked over because of how the algorithm puts people in a category and competition to create similar entertainment. And that to me is the most toxic thing ever, but it's how it works. And guess what? Social media holds a lot of power. So you got to kind of jump on board even if you don't agree with it. That's what makes the world so small, social media. Man, this shit ain't gonna get played. This shit ain't gonna get pushed out because I'm doing the complete opposite that the algorithm wants. And that's me going against the grain. It's almost like the algorithm promotes all people to do the same thing. I want all black people to do this. All Hispanic people do this. All Caucasian people do this. And then y'all are going to make fun of each other. And then that's going to push it even more. Mind games. Thank God I never wanted to be a puppet. Just saying. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. I was dating a narcissistic person for quite some time, and they didn't like me being on social media. I'm gonna say that. Just wasn't something they supported. They did not want me to be part of social media, which now I get it, but then I didn't. But I did it because it was like, well, if that's gonna make peace at home, then so be it. However, it's a lot of people who don't have that. It hasn't been given a forceful way, or because it was forceful, it would have made my life a lot easier. That's me just not being on social media. But it causes so many mental illnesses. And I know I talked about depression last go round, but let's start there. A lot of people sit at home and sit depressed, and I've been guilty of this, based on shit that you see on social media, just to come and find out that it's not even realistic, just to come and find out that it's staged, just to come to find out that it is edited. But because you don't have it, because you can't relate to it, because everyone is reacting to it, you feel like you're behind, you're left out, you're lost, you're by yourself, and that can put you in a dark ass place. When everybody has big bodacious ass and big boobs and big pecs and big arms and, you know, a big back, a wide back, that'll fuck with your self-esteem. If I post a picture with clothes on, no, this is real. This is 100%. I have contemplated posting very, very risque pictures, and I plan on doing it. I plan on doing it in a creative, artistic manner. I look at a lot of people who post news and post, you know, all kind of crazy shit. I fuck with everybody. I have all kind of friends. And I'm gonna just say, I'm gonna go ahead and cut to the chase. I have friends who are sex workers. Shout out to the sex workers. I don't judge. It is what it is. But I look at them and I'm like, well, damn, their success is amazing, like overnight. But I know my body is better than theirs because they tell me. And I can post something fully clothed and be completely looked over. Self-esteem. It's a rat race. You got people feeling like they're unattractive, people feeling like they're nothing special, people feeling like they're less than. And it's all because there's so many layers of this when it comes to individuality. And I think it's safe to say anxiety. It'll give you anxiety when you looking at everybody your age hanging in Dubai, or everybody your age going into the Gucci store and buying 10 pair of shoes, and you over here barely making ends meet. You get anxiety because you feel like time is running out. You feel like you're not doing shit, and you feel like you're not using your time wisely, right? Man, individuality has so much intent and so much purpose and so much potential that I feel like the algorithm doesn't acknowledge it. Just my 2 cents. Think about how many lives we've seen being lost because of social media, whether that's suicide, whether that's mass shootings. Individuality. I'm one of those kind of people that's like, don't be coming up with no damn issues if you can't come up with a solution, or at least look at the glass half full versus half empty. And the first thing I want to highlight is, do I think social media has potential to actually promote individuality? Yes, absolutely. Matter of fact, I think social media is the only thing that can get individuality supported across the board. I feel like right now we are in a very fragile point where we are allowing social media to show us the differences and to show us the social racism that exists. I know. I'm opening up a whole nother can of worms that I probably shouldn't, but let me just give you an example of what I mean. And I stole this example from Jackie Aina. Kendall Jenner took a picture with snow boots on and in a bikini, like in Aspen or Vail, wherever all the rich people hang. And there's a black influencer who wore like space boots or moon boots to the beach in her bikini. People praise Kendall Jenner, but dogged out the little other influencer who was a black chick who wore hers snow boots or moon boots, whatever the fuck they were, to the beach. Now, If that's not double standards at its finest, that's double standards. I feel like social media has invested so much money in flagging, copyright flagging, community guidelines flagging people who are voicing their opinions to a certain extent, that they could also figure out a way to monitor and promote individuality. What does that look like? I don't even know. I'm gonna be dead ass. I really don't know, but I feel like they got an algorithm, so I'm pretty sure it's a formula they can plug in that bitch, and they'll highlight individuality. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be true to myself. My podcast probably don't look like anybody else's. The shit I talk about don't look like anybody else's. And to be honest with you, the direction that I'm going in is the complete opposite of what everybody else is going in. I get asked so many times, do you listen to podcasts? No. There's a few that I listen to, but I listen to them sporadically, and I listen to them for the information being given. But as far as me just listening to a podcaster that just sits in front of the camera and talk about opinions or talk about irrelevant shit, no, I don't follow any, because I don't want to, being that I kind of do the same thing, maybe not be full time like they're doing it, but I do the same thing. I don't want that to kind of influence my movement or how I want to operate things or do things, because unlike everybody else, I rely on my individuality. Definitely an unpopular opinion. Definitely. I know. Now let's shift gears and let's talk about the shit that really runs social media. The shit that really moves social media. And that's going to be your influencers and your communities. Now, I want to, before I get into influencers, let me give another insight when it comes to influencers. I know everybody has watched influencers boom out of nowhere. When I was a little kid, if you told me about an influencer, I wouldn't have known what it was and probably looked at you crazy. That role kind of popped out of nowhere. A lot of the successful influencers that we have to this day fell into it, and it was just like, oh wow, okay. But what people forget is influencers are people that when you are given certain responsibilities, such as large platforms, such as your voice holding measures, voice versus anything like that, being a public figure, let's just say that, it comes with responsibility, and it's important for these roles to acknowledge that. I very rarely see successful influencers promote or acknowledge people who are doing things that are not trending or holding on to all information. Instead, you only want to interact with people who are equivalent to you. Instead, influencers only want to interact with you or collaborate with you if they know they're going to get something out the deal. And it's not really like you're an influencer. Hell, you told me to go buy this goddamn car, so I did. If you see somebody with some individuality that's unique and different, why not promote that? Put me on them. You're an influencer. And I don't see a lot of people doing that, especially that has the success behind the influencing industry, which is cool, because you can't stop what's meant for anybody. And I feel like it's one of those things where it's a gatekeeping situation. God damn it, everybody fucking gatekeep, but that is a prime example of it. And I feel like more influencers should try to find those individuals that are just unique. I'm gonna be honest. If I went, let's say I became an influencer and I had a huge following, I'm not worried about people who has already made it. I'm not social climbing with them bitches. I'm hot for the moment. Let me reach out to somebody who isn't, so I can be on the next hot thing, the next wave. That way, when I'm starting to die out, I'm still going to be relevant because I got my hand holding the next hot influencer coming up. We figuring this shit out ourselves together. I might be a couple of steps ahead of you, but we're figuring it out together. I feel like if we saw more of that on social media, it would get the message across. Social media relies on influencers. They hear influencers out. And the funny thing is, I feel like a lot of influencers that I follow that are big and successful and got a large following always talk about the challenge of finding different types of content, new content. Well, goddamn it, the individuals that you guys overlook when it comes to individuality and authenticity, those are going to be the banks that got all the creativity. The people that are promoting stuff and it ain't getting no fucking play, no views, no interaction, no engagement, no subscriptions, nothing, none of that, but they still show up and do their job, they're going to be the ones that got the idea. Because you're forced to think outside the box to be seen. You're forced to think outside the box to be heard. And then you got communities. All I can say is, I'm going to sum it up, because communities is not much I got to say when it comes to the communities that push social media. I'm going to be honest. I think that we need to explore the roles of our social influencers as well as our communities. And I feel like they should be doing a better job of promoting body positivity, diversity, as well as inclusion. Point blank and period. It comes with the territory. And shout out to the people like me trying to figure the shit out. Not because you want what comes with it, but because you simply got something to say. You got a soul tribe that you trying to get to and communicate with, and you just fuck all that other shit. I just need to know who the fuck I'm talking to when I express my feelings and post my feelings and put it out there for the world. I want to know, who am I talking to? I don't give a damn about all that other stuff. Straight up. What I have learned and what I'm going based off of for 2023 is authenticity and vulnerability. And I must say, until I started really focusing on the importance of those two things, I was guilty of not paying attention to that shit either. I didn't have the mindset of be vulnerable because it holds power, which I want to talk about in another episode, or authentically being yourself. Now, I don't have that issue with me authentically being myself. And I feel like there's a couple of factors behind it. I feel like, one, I'm a middle child, and two, it's just part of my DNA. I don't give a damn what nobody else is doing. It's all about what I want to do. I know all things are possible. I know that I can have access to whatever I want to have access to. So I don't go based on what everybody else is going based on. I also think me coming out at a younger age had a lot to do with it as well. Because it's like I was doing something that was not cool, was frowned upon, and at the time was not as popular as it is now, or as accepted as it is now. So I've always had to kind of just stand behind myself and 10 toes deep in what I believed. And acceptance on social media. Out of all I say or have said in this episode, that is the one thing that I do think is something that we have progressed on, or we have made progression with. Now, granted, I feel like when it comes to acceptance, there's a lot of disingenuine acceptance on the internet, on social media. However, I do feel like authentically the pandemic did help out highlight that, because there is acceptance. I also think our horrible presidential candidate, if you will, that was in the office, did a great job of pointing that out. And it made people want to accept other people for the littlest shit. But out of all of the issues, I think that is the one that I feel like as a whole social media has kind of tackled and has kind of embraced. And I feel like there's a new wave of influencers that are trying to promote and create that safe place for their people, for their following, as well as an accepting place for those who don't necessarily feel like they have somewhere to go on the internet. And I feel like we're at a day and age where people want that. They want those small communities just in case, or them safe places just in case we go through what we just went through a few years ago. Now look, it's time to drive this point home, right? And I must say that we know that there's good things and there are bad things when it comes to social media. And just as many things that have transpired on social media that has harmed people, also there has been a lot of great moments on social media, and social media has actually changed people's lives for the better. But I want to encourage you guys to step into individuality and step into acceptance a little bit more. Fuck you thinking about what your friends that follow you are going to think about. Fuck what your family gonna think about you. Put out something that is, or either support something that is individual, unique, and different. Accept someone who is a little different and acknowledge those people who are not in the same realm or spectrum as you, because at the end of the day, everyone on social media should feel like they have a place to go. Everyone should have a community and everyone should be acknowledged. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm sick of social media only highlighting the same damn things. I'm really sick of it. I'm sick of seeing the same damn dances. I'm sick of seeing the same challenges. I'm sick of seeing the same topics being discussed. I'm sick of everybody's kind of trying to hop on the trend because they're fiending for reach. They're fiending for attention. They're fiending for all of the things that don't matter. So for our homework tonight, all I got to say is let's change it. We can make a change. Start promoting people who have a diverse voice, people who talking about shit that ain't nobody else talking about, people bringing awareness to the topics and the small things that everybody is overlooking. Also, support being authentic and vulnerable. And if you post content, you be authentic and vulnerable. There's a lot of power in vulnerability. And a lot of people bust their ass for this success, or bust their ass for a reach, or bust their ass for the algorithm, but don't understand that at the end of the day, the way to get it is being vulnerable. See, we're at a hunger for authenticity. We're at a hunger for realism. That's why TikTok boomed. Because people were able to do TikToks without it being perfect, without it being perfection, say what they want to say, and get acknowledged for it. And people accept it. And people wanted that. Eventually, we had reached a point where people did not want to have to sit up and look at the pretty girl on camera all fucking day talking. People did not want to see the rich girl talk about how she went shopping in Paris and to Madagascar all in a day. People got sick of that. And lastly, do the most powerful thing that you can do, and that's advocate for change on social media. Social media is me and you versus a fucking algorithm that tries to tell you what you like. So go against the grain. Speak up, your voice holds weight, and make a change, because we're missing out on some great, creative, aggressive material out there. All because people overlook individuality. So, Jackie Aina, do I feel like individuality is dead? Nope. I just feel like people overlook it and people don't acknowledge it. Thank you again for supporting me and my quirkiness and my authenticity and my vulnerability on my podcast. Thank you for supporting my last episode. The one thing I hear a lot of people say is that I am authentic when it comes to my content, and I hold that with pride. I do. I really, really do. If this is your first time listening to this podcast, this is Soul Esteem Sessions, and I guess me and you will talk later. Bye.